your agenda on any of the sheets that you have.
Do you want to stand over there and let them stand over there?
Sure, good idea. So if you guys want to go around to the other side of the table, and we'll start with the first set of statements. You want to kick it off, Jen?
Yes, ma'am. So are we doing all three, or are we just doing two?
No, I would just do two.
Okay. So, would you rather have a wide network of acquaintances, or would you rather have a few close friends?
So you know a lot of people, but maybe you don't know them as well. Or you have a handful of people that you're pretty tight with.
Okay. Remember what side you were on. Would you rather spend your free time socializing with people, like going partying or doing some shopping? Or would you rather spend your free time in solitude, like reading a book, or I don't know, taking a nap, or taking a walk alone?
So Mitchell,
Right.
you didn't really move that much, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't move that much, no.
You didn't move that much. Can you explain why?
Because I enjoy both, but I prefer.
A little bit more to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Naomi? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You stayed pretty tight on this side, yeah? Yeah? You feel like you're, I don't know, describe your thinking process for me.
I like to be alone. I enjoy it.
Okay.
So in this scenario here, we were just focusing on extroversion and introversion. So essentially, extroversion and introversion is like where your energy comes from. So a lot of people think that because if you're an introvert, that you're like quiet and like really don't want to be by people and you're like antisocial, and that's not the case. It's just where you get your energy from. So if you were over here, that's essentially extroversion, where extroverts are people who focus on the things in the outer world, and they tend to like a lot of variety and action. They tend to act quickly, sometimes without thinking, but they like having people around them. Introverts focus more on their thoughts and their feeling in the inner world, and they often like concentration, and they like to really think before they do certain things. So yeah, so if you were over here, write an E on your paper. If you were over here, write an I on your paper.
So this is difficult. Typically there are 3 statements for students to choose from, which is good because that third statement kind of acts like a deal breaker. If they went to one side and then to the opposite side, the third statement's going to make or break it. For the sake of you guys, you only had the option to choose from 2 of them. So if you flip-flopped, just do your best to try and draw on what you know. Jen said it a little bit, but I think the best way for me to explain introversion versus extroversion is where you draw your energy from. So I love being around people, and it does make me happy, and I do enjoy getting to know people. But at the same time, after a day of doing that, I have to go home and be alone to recharge and to get my energy back. So thinking about that, go ahead and write down on your paper either an E or an I based on if you were more on this side, it's an E. If you're more on that side, it's an I. Okay?
And I would add that we're complex humans, so just because this is your tendency, it doesn't mean you never want to go spend an hour alone. Or just because Naomi likes alone time doesn't mean she never wants to go to a party. It's just what the pattern tends to be for you.
Yeah, and the Young typology actually, I think everybody's taking it, correct?
Yep.
It gives you kind of the percentages, which I think is really nice. It doesn't just kind of put you in one box.
It's a spectrum.
Exactly. Okay, so the next set of statements, starting all over, scramble up your brain a little bit. Would you rather experiment with a brand new way of doing things or utilize a method that is tried and true? You've done it, you know it's going to work, and you're going to stick with it. So new way of doing things, a fresh perspective, tried and true.
So what is this saying?
If it's not broken, don't
Yeah.
fix it. Right? All right, excellent. So remember which side of the room you're on. And the next statement is, when you think about a situation, do you tend to focus on what could be or the here and now? So do you speculate out to the future, thinking about what might happen? Or are you nuts and bolts, you're going to stick to what's going on and what's in front of you? All right, very good. So for the sake of time, we won't do a lot of discussion, but you saw it a little bit when I paused and talked to Mitchell and Naomi Typically with students, you might ask them, you know, sometimes it's kind of funny, students will do things like, when you state a statement, they're like, way out there, like, you know, they're really excited about it. So those are the students that you usually ask, like, all right, tell me, you know, what makes you feel this way, and kind of get a conversation started. But again, for the sake of time, I'm going to divide you up. So this time we were looking at intuition versus sensing. So this is our next part of the code. It refers to the way people tend to gather information. So people who tend to identify with the intuitive disposition focus on possibilities and the relationship between ideas, whereas those with a sensing disposition focus on the facts and the details that can be confirmed by what they know and what they've experienced themselves. So intuitive people like learning a new skill more than they enjoy actually using it. They follow their inspirations, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. They prefer change, and they usually work in bursts of energy. Oh my God, that is me. Sensors like using experiences and standard ways to solve problems. They often proceed in a step-by-step approach. They tend to look at the principles involved in situations and kind of go through what they know, that tried and true kind of thing. So if you were more intuitive, if you were more on this side of the spectrum, the next letter in your code is an N. If you were more on the sensing side, the next letter is an S. So it's either going to be an N or an S. If you're trying to start a conversation with students and it's 8 a.m. and they don't want to talk to you, sometimes Jen and I will share our own thoughts and opinions to just get them to know what we're asking and what's going through our minds. All right.
All right. So, would you say that it's better to lead with your head, or it's better to lead with your heart? So just think of a situation that you may be in. So are you going to lead with your head, or are you going to lead with your heart? All right. Had some movement over here. All right. Do you believe that feelings are highly personal and private, or are you an open book about your emotions? So like if someone So like if somebody asks you, hey, what's wrong? You're gonna tell them, and you're gonna spend like your whole lunch break letting them know what's wrong with you.
So this is more personally you, like if you're willing to share, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, my EM is always the same.
No, it's not today.
It's not. Thinking, feeling.
Okay. So now we were just essentially focusing on like how people make decisions. So thinkers tend to use objective information and logical analysis to come to their conclusion, whereas feelers use analysis that is subjective and person-centered when they're making their decisions. So thinkers, who are more often over here, they tend to be firm-minded and look at like the principles in the situation. They can work without harmony, and sometimes if they have to make a decision and hurt people's feelings, like that's what's gonna happen. I see you smiling over there. I'm sorry. So they can feel rewarded when the job is done. So if you're over here, that's feelers, so F. Feelers tend to use their values to reach decisions. And people over here, feelers tend to work best in harmony. So they enjoy pleasing others and tend to be very sympathetic. They feel rewarded when the needs are met. So if you were over here, T. If you're over here, F. Mitchell.
Well, just one thing to say about this, that just because you are on one side doesn't mean that you can't use the thought processes of the other side. Like, I know that I'm primarily a feeler, but in terms of like my academia, I'm a history major and I use a lot of cold reasoning. That's very thinker style. Same is true the other way around. If you're more of a thinker,
For sure.
it doesn't make you
There's
an
no
emotionless robot.
inherently right or wrong answer. The last set of statements are labeled, what is it, judgers. Judgers versus perceivers, and judgers sound like such a bad thing. But again, there's no right or wrong answer, and nothing's meant to be negatively no negative connotations, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right. So the last letter in your code, I know you were just dying to know. Would you say that your room is neat and orderly, or that you have that lived-in look? This is always the best when you're in a residence hall and there are roommates there. And they're like, oh, good, you're nasty, get on the other side of the room. So neat and orderly, or that lived-in look.
Oh, I feel
That's
self-conscious.
what I want to live with. There you go.
No, it's okay. My room right now is like that, but I want it to be like that.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
a
have
struggle.
stuff to do.
That's a struggle. Okay, do you prefer to schedule each hour of the day in advance? You got a list you got to schedule. Or would you rather do things as you feel like doing them and as you get to them? Yeah, I know. For me, it's like I make the list, but
What do I do?
yeah, I kind of end up over here a
I
little bit.
prefer flexibility.
Very good. Okay,
It's 'cause
so
I'm a gymnast.
like I mentioned before, this time we're looking at judging versus perceiving, and we're focusing on the way that people deal with the outer world. So judgers like to plan and organize and make decisions, whereas perceivers are more spontaneous and adaptable, and they stay open to options as long as possible. Judgers work best when they can plan their work and then follow that plan. They feel satisfied by making a decision, and they can usually decide pretty quickly to reach closure. In order to reach closure, they use lists to prompt action. Perceivers enjoy flexibility. They may leave things open for more last-minute changes. They postpone decisions while searching or seeking out their other options. They feel a little bit restricted if there isn't that opportunity for change. When a perceiver uses a list, it is often to remind them of things to do at some point. So, if you were more over here, you are a J. If you were more over here, you are a P. And that is the final letter of your code.
When I took the Myers-Briggs, I was F. I was J and P. And John Jack was like, that never happens. I had the same number for each. I was like, yeah, that was bad.
That's like, what's that book series, movie where she's, it's very popular right now, Divergent, where she like tests into multiple.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't even read it, but
You are the
you're
tiger.
an anomaly. I like that. So go ahead and have a seat. And we'll kind of wrap up with some discussion.
I'm still an INFP.
So at this point, we would hand out what you already have in front of you as these blue worksheets.
So basically, for you to determine your Myers-Briggs code, just remember that this is the unofficial way of doing it, and if you are interested in the official version, to take the Jones typology test that's offered on Career Services website. So once you look at the blue sheet, look at the side that doesn't have the names on it, and find your code. And basically what we ask students is like, okay, how do you feel about this? If you have like the, in quotations, the first one, doing what should be done, and then you have like these different characteristics of like compulsive, private, trustworthy, where like, do you feel like this is you? And then on the other side, do you feel like this is not you? And then we have them share. And then on the back, there's an outdated list of different celebrities that may have had the Myers-Briggs code, so they could just identify with it. So I'm an ESFJ, that's on the bottom. So I have like Bill Clinton, Rachel Adams, Dwight Eisenhower, and George Washington.
So yeah, you usually.
Yep.
I can see where people are.
Yeah. If you let's actually do that. When you have smaller groups, you can do this, and I like to have individuals read their code, tell us their code, and then read that first statement underneath that first little in quotations there. So Becky, if you want to start.
I'm an ENFJ, a smooth talking persuader.
Whoa.
This time I'm an ESFJ, host and hostesses of the world.
Oh, my next. I'm an INTJ, so that says everything has room for improvement.
I'm a different one this time. I tend to go back and forth between ENFJ and ENTJ. So smooth talking persuader or life's natural leaders.
I'm ENFP. I tend to go between ENFP and ENFJ. Like I said, I have J and P a lot. So giving life an extra squeeze or smooth talking persuader.
I am an INFP, performing noble service to aid society.
I am an ESFJ, host and hostess of the world.
Oh, your buddy.
So one really cool thing is that if you do this program with a smaller group, like in a residence hall, on a government, a leadership team, a student org, it's really cool to be able to share this information because it tells you not only a lot about yourself, but about the people that you work with and how, you know, some things are gonna mesh really, really well and some people are gonna work really well together and other people are gonna prefer to work a little bit more independently and kind of come back to the table. So it can be really valuable, you know, as a staff, if you work together or if you're working on projects together as a government or as a leadership team, this can be really good information to know. You know, usually we have a discussion with students, like Jen said, you know, about how well they think it describes them, the other keywords that they have on there. You know, is there anything that they really disagree with? And you might have to wait a little bit for students to respond, but eventually someone will, you know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Pipe up.
Yeah, pipe up. That's it. I was going to say peep up.
That's
We'll pipe up and talk a little bit and kind of get the discussion rolling. So talking about that. And usually there are a couple people that, you know, have the same code, so to speak, as someone really funny and they want to talk about that. So I'm trying to find my favorite example. I think there's some kind of dictate around here that everybody.
Joseph Stalin's on here.
Yeah, that must be it. Where is it?
ESTJ.
Oh yeah, Stalin. Bush. Yeah. So
Isn't
he,
Trump on here too? A lot of people.
Yeah, I think he
is he
make
really?
comments. Yeah.
Man, we're gonna update this baby.
Yeah.
We're gonna like
pretty relevant right
and
now.
you don't have any of the Beatles on it?
Don't worry, for Lori Martin Keith, we look up the Beatles.
Not for me.
I
too.
For
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. What did I say?
Lori Martin Keith.
Oh no, not Lori.
Alright, and that's how Walk the Line's done. Say bye, everyone.
Bye.